All right, we are live. Welcome to the show, Evan. Thanks for being here.
Yeah, thank you.
So for everybody listening or watching, this is our first episode, and we've invited my brother, Talyn Stratton, onto the show to talk to us a little bit about veteran life, military life, and a really awesome organization that he's a part of that we're going to start donating to. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, Evan?
Yeah, thanks. I'm really excited. This is fun. So my name is Talyn Stratton. I live in Denver, Colorado with my wife and 2.5-year-old son. I'm a Marine Corps veteran. I deployed to Iraq in 2009. I'm a propellant veteran, so I was wounded in 2009 in an ambush there. And it really kind of shaped my future and what I do for life now. But I've been out for almost 10 years now, which is kind of crazy. But I've stayed very involved in the veteran community in a lot of different ways through competing at the Warrior Games, the Invictus Games. I've helped employers build and scale veteran hiring programs. And now I am the president of Fight Oar Die, which is a all-volunteer veteran nonprofit. And we really focus on veteran mental health through offering mental health first aid classes. And we also row across oceans. So we've set several world records rowing across the Atlantic Ocean. I did it in 2019 to 2020. It's 3,000 nautical miles completely unsupported from La Gomera to Antigua in the Caribbean. And we're still continuing to do it. So we've got 2 teams lined up for the next couple of years, and really just trying to inspire veterans to live their lives instead of taking them.
Wow, that's amazing. And it's really great. This is a perfect time, excuse me, to start talking about that, about this, because it is actually National Suicide Prevention Month, and there's a big focus on that next week. So I definitely want to dive into some of those details and talk about maybe how you got involved in Fight or Die or some of these other programs that you've been involved in since coming back or since leaving active duty.
Yeah, for sure. I, like many veterans, had a very tough transition. So I was 19 years old when I was wounded overseas. My good friend and teammate, Brandon Latta, was killed in that same attack. And I was 19 years old when that happened. So when I left the military in 2011, things had changed in a lot of ways. And so, like many veterans, I went through a very difficult transition, not just from the standpoint of, trying to figure out what I wanted to do in life and go to school or work and those things, but, the immaturity of being a 19-year-old and going through a pretty traumatic event really hit me a lot harder as I was older and transitioning, and as I kind of matured and had a little bit more emotional depth to work through those things. So, I spent a good 3 years in pretty intensive mental health programs and really making that a key priority in my life, and all super well worth it. It's something I still continue to maintain to this day, but I went through some pretty difficult experiences, and so now I find it very important to share those experiences and talk about them openly. And kind of throughout my journey, I was really lucky to get involved in multiple different organizations like Team Semper Fi and sports aspects of things that were really instrumental to helping me through my recovery and those difficult moments. And now I find myself blessed enough to be in a position to help others and get other veterans to the point where I'm at and even further.
Yeah. I think that's really awesome that you were able to find opportunities that helped get you through those really tough times. Something that was difficult that I can speak about from our own personal experiences, not knowing how to handle from like a family or friend perspective, these issues that vets are going through, the difficulties that they're going through coming back from Iraq or Afghanistan or so I think it's really cool what you're doing with Fight or Die because of the mental health training that you talked about. That mental health first aid is a resource not only for veterans, but for their family and friends. Can you talk a little bit about that program?
Yeah, absolutely. You're totally right. I think we see not just in the veteran community, but society as a whole, there's a much bigger focus and conversation happening about mental health, and which is awesome, which is great. And this is something that has been a stand forward point in the veteran community for a long time. And what's cool about veterans, though, and where we can really be leaders in it, is because veterans make up all demographics and statuses throughout society. You know, we come from all backgrounds, from all groups, colors, creeds, you name it. So veterans are really uniquely positioned to be leaders because, one, we've focused so heavily on our own mental health, and the support and resources are so built up there. But also we represent all of our communities, and so we can really be that kind of beacon and leader to, you know, help others really focus on their own mental health and encourage that. But why we chose mental health first aid specifically is for the reasons you just mentioned, as, you know, personally going through things with me and, you know, seeing me and knowing me through my difficult journey. We tend to, as a society, not really know how to talk about mental health, right? And that's sort of changing. But what we saw mental health first aid as being really impactful is because we don't necessarily even really focus on training veterans. Our big focus is to train first responders, spouses, friends, family, coworkers, people involved in the veteran community that are around veterans, so they have the tools and resources to recognize a veteran going through a mental health challenge and then have the resources they need to intervene during a crisis. So what was so difficult through my journey, I think, is I really felt on an island. I didn't know how to talk about my experiences, and in those moments that I was ready to kind of talk about them, something you hear a lot is, oh, I have no idea what you've gone through, or I can't even imagine. And people feel disarmed by veterans, which is okay. But, you know, we as society respect veterans. We understand that there are pretty intense traumatic experiences that veterans can have. And so people feel as though they're not worthy or capable or able to talk to a veteran because, you know, how do you talk to someone about what you respect their experience so much that you're like, oh man, like I can't identify with you.
Right.
And that's not what we need to do as people supporting other people going through a challenge or crisis is, well, you're my sister or you're my mom. Like, I don't need you to even understand what I went through. I'm just a person that's hurting right now.
Right.
And when you're the one that's hurting, like you're lost in everything and you don't know how to really communicate that and, you know, all those things. And so what we really want is that people to no longer say, well, I saw something was wrong, but I didn't know what to say, so I didn't say anything. Or I didn't even recognize what was going on. And so that's where we think mental health first aid is really going to be a catalyst for change, is because we can build community-centered safety nets and people now feel like they have the tools and resources and know how to intervene during a mental health challenge and then really get some support during a mental health crisis.
Wow, that's so exciting. I mean, when you first told me about that program, I think later that day I jumped on to Fight or Die's website and signed up. So I'm doing that class this October. Yeah. I think it's an 8-hour class that I'm going to be doing on Saturday, but I agree with you, like, especially coming from our own experience, like I was very much in that space of not knowing what to say. You know, I didn't feel like I was one of your, like your buddies from that time. And I felt like those were the only people that could help you because they understood you. And really, it's just about holding space for these people and allowing them to come to you and just be there for what they need, not for what you need in that situation.
Yeah, totally.
So
totally. I mean, there's a space and time to, you know, call a buddy and just need a vent and do those things. But, you know, mental health is a journey, and it's a scale, right? You know, I may not be doing well, but I'm not doing horrible, right? I may just be experiencing a challenge. I'm not in crisis. And I think that's the hardest thing for people to sift through because it is such a personalized experience. Not doing well for me is going to be so different than another veteran not doing well or someone else not doing well. And it's so personalized. And that's where that discovery and that conversation is so critical, because if we feel disarmed and we don't know what to do, well, it's not about us, right? It's about the person. Yes. And so how do we engage with that person and talk with them through where they are at? And, you know, recognizing critical signs, right? You know, is this having the hard conversation? Like, you know, Evan, like, I notice you're not doing well. Yeah, you're right. Like, I just like, this has been off and da, 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 da. Or, you know, like, other times, like, is like, Evan, are you going to hurt yourself?
Right.
You have to be able to have those conversations and kind of recognize the signs a little bit. Um, but it's so much about just having the conversation,
Right.
which is honestly the most disarming, difficult part.
Absolutely. And I think another thing is just bringing awareness to it all, bringing awareness to the fact that, mental health is an ongoing thing. It's not just the 6 months you return. It's not just the year after you return. It's a lifetime worth of work, and certain things might or might not trigger those memories and emotions and feelings at any moment, especially right now. And that's something else I want to dive into with you is the current climate for veterans and active military members with what's going on politically and in the world.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, you're right. I mean, it's a journey, and it's constant maintenance, and that's what you'll learn in the course, and which is so cool, is it really talks about those aspects of it. Especially in the mental health first aid, you get certified, so it's a certification. And a big piece of that is that self-care, which still talks about that, right? Like, we have to come from a place of being able to help, and if we're not that person, that's okay. It's finding someone else that can be that person, or finding those other support resources. But how you define mental health, part of the definition in the course is being able to recognize your full potential and feeling able to reach it. And I think it's a really cool way of defining it, because if something so bad that we can't even see the road in front of us and feel like we're moving forward and growing, but also not so big where it's like you have to constantly be moving forward. It's just like you feel able to reach your full potential, not, oh, I am reaching it, right? Because the goalpost is always going to move, and this, as long as we're on this life, we have to continue to grow and move forward. There's no end point. And so as we grow, our perspectives change, and how we look back at our experiences, we see in new lights. And what you're talking about and what's going on in Afghanistan recently has hit the veteran community pretty hard, and I've been pretty unprepared for, or shocked at the feelings it brought back for myself. And, I didn't serve in Afghanistan. I served in Iraq, but I have a lot of friends that served in Afghanistan. But more than anything, it's, for veterans, we served, right? So it brings these questions in of, was it worth it? And we really have to reconcile failures in leadership and things that we have no control over with our own personal experiences. And that can be pretty difficult.
Yeah. I mean, you approached me with that situation, I think last week, and I didn't even know what was going on, and even still had a hard time, like, how can I help you with that? Or how can I show up with that? And I think that everything that we've been talking about is so perfect with how do we handle this conversation with our military and veteran members. So, I'm really just grateful that you're speaking about this stuff. I'm really glad that there's organizations out there that are creating programs and awareness around the mental health space, especially for our vets. So can you tell me a little bit more about how you got involved with Fight or Die?
Yeah, I was pretty involved in, just veteran sports and challenges, competing for the Marine teams at the Warrior Games. And then I competed for the US team at the Invictus Games, and just really great experiences. Like, a little bit of success on the field translates to a lot of success in my personal life. And it really got me going, because of those things, got me like succeeding in, key components of my life at like work and relationships and other areas. And so I'd kind of moved on from that, was in a place where I was focusing kind of just more on a career and life as a whole, when I had a really good friend introduce me to a veteran at the gym. His name is Bryant Knight. And, just the natural, everyone likes to connect their veteran friends. And so, oh, you're a vet, you guys can be friends. Or, oh, cool, bro. Nice to meet you, or whatever. And probably a couple months later, my buddy Bobby, he gave me a call. He's like, hey, remember my friend Brian? I introduced you to the gym. He's a veteran thing. There's this fundraiser they're doing. I bought a table to support him. You and your wife should come and, just be at the table. It'll be a fun date night. I'm like, cool. We show up. It's called An Evening at Sea. And we sit down, and they start doing this presentation about how, Bryant and 3 other veterans are going to get in this boat, and they're going to row across the Atlantic Ocean. and more people have climbed Mount Everest than have ever done that, and more people have been in outer space than ever rode an ocean. I was like, oh my God, this is so cool, and I look over at my wife and she's like, don't even think about it. I'm like, oh man, all right, busted. And I honestly, I really didn't, because it's like climbing Mount Everest. Like, wow, this is so cool. This is huge, but like, I'm never going to do that. Like, that's what other people do. Those are big things that other people with big dreams and big capabilities go and do. And so for the next year after that, I really didn't think about it much. Like, I didn't really follow the row a whole lot. Like, it'd pop up here and there. I'm like, oh yeah, that's cool. That's cool. But really about a year later, we go out to Arizona for some friends, like a big friends golf weekend, and Bryant's there. Like, get to the airport, hop in the back of the Uber. Bryant, oh my God, dude, what's up? Like,
No way.
how was the row? We just start like connecting and chatting about it and all of that stuff. And we get to the Airbnb, and Bryant gets this call and he walks off, and comes back and he walks right up to me and he's like, hey, one of our 2019 rowers just quit. We need a backup. And I'm like, yes, like, asterisk, like, let me ask my wife, like all these things. And, but I kind of told Casey, but I was like, yeah, we'll talk about it when I get back. And, we got back, like Sunday night, and he's like texting me. He's like, hey, I need you to fill out this application. I need you to do this and that. And I was like, okay. Like, I'll just do it just to, like, just in case. And then boom, board votes on it. I get accepted. I'm on the team. I'm like, oh, okay, this is really happening. So Casey's like, yes, you can do this. We have a 6-month-old baby at the time, but she was still like, all right, like, if you want to do it. I walk into work, give it a couple days, and I go to them, and I was just like, hey, I love being here. I want to work here, but I just got this once in a lifetime opportunity. There's other jobs. And, they made it work. So it started just steamrolling so fast. But it was one of those things is actually probably one of the most impactful learning experiences of my life, because I had every reason to say no. I had a wife. I had a 6-month-old baby, my first child. I was at work. I would have to take off a significant portion of work during our busiest time of the year in order to go train. I was doing it with 3 other guys that I had never met before. Like, there's just the big, huge cons list laying right out in front of me. And I just knocked that all to the side and said, I'm saying yes to the opportunity. And I'll figure it out and it'll happen. And it was incredible just by saying yes to that opportunity, how much things came together to support me. And it was really eye-opening that we go through and we often build the barriers for ourselves. And we say no to the opportunities that walk in front of us, even on a micro level. When in reality, if we just said yes more, like, things will work out, things come together. I didn't do it by myself. It wasn't just sheer grit and will that made it happen. It was others that made it happen. It was my support system and my network and friends and family and coworkers that made that all happen. But it was a real true testament to my community and how others just, by virtue of being human beings, want to help others and see others succeed. So it was a really cool experience for me from that standpoint.
That's awesome. I love the community aspect. I mean, our business is all about community and just giving people the resources to live life in a new way, in a better way, in a more connected way. And it's really incredible. You hit the nail on the head. Like, when you said yes to something, like, you have a community of people that'll rally around you and they'll help you do that. I mean, your first child, you missed his first birthday, you missed Christmas, like, you missed all of the firsts. And like, your wife showing up in that moment, and like, even all of us, it's a very scary moment, because it's like, you're rowing the what on a what? Are there safety boats? Like, what is there? And you don't have any of that. But I mean, to watch you step into something and conquer something and feel alive and know that you're capable of doing what many people have never done before is a huge victory. So I'm really proud of you for stepping into that and saying yes and going all the way and making it happen, because it's had a huge impact on your life, and now you're making more and more decisions, getting your pilot's license, doing a lot of fun things, because you know that you're capable of conquering whatever you want. Um,
Well, and that was a huge piece of why I wanted to reach out to the road, by virtue of just my experiences and the decisions I'd made in joining the military. I was handed some pretty monumental challenges. I experienced some big things that I had to get through early, but it felt like, I don't want to say as like a victim, but it's so often those big challenges can feel like they're happening to us. And like that was a very pivotal moment in my mental health journey, is that I felt like for so long I was just in this little harbor, just getting beaten up against the rocks. And I'm like, how do I get through this? How do I get out of this? And I realized I had to like row my own personal ocean. That I said, I can't just sit here and this isn't just going to go away. It's not just going to pass by. It's going to continue to affect me and be a part of my life and negatively impact me if I don't leave the safe harbor and just say, hey, I'm going to row my own personal ocean. And that's what we're really big advocates of at Fight or Die now, is that we want people to row their personal oceans, because by doing that and getting out and conquering your own storms, you realize there is so much more potential for you. I wouldn't have been able to take on the row without having done that first. And that's why the row was so important, because it felt like I was taking this challenge. Like it felt like I was going to row the ocean. The ocean wasn't coming to me this time. Like I was going to go after it, and I was going to be able to, speak from experience and tell my own son and my own kids in my home, like, you can do great things. I could show veterans that you can get through the difficulties that you're facing, and you can conquer these, mental health challenges, and that being in the service isn't the coolest thing you've ever done. You can still, serve your community, and you can reach great, great heights.
wow.
So it was very pivotal, and something I thought a lot about for, by rowing my ocean, I was able to go and then now meet challenges on my terms.
Wow, that's incredible. When you're in those moments, and you can speak from experience, you've had a lot of very dark moments, a lot of moments that you didn't think there was any more life to be lived, or that it might be too difficult for you to live that. Like, how did you make it through those moments? And what have been some of the best tools for you to get to the point where you felt ready to row your own ocean?
I mean, that's a really great question, and something that, I spent years figuring out. I've always been a very push forward kind of person. And so when I left the military, there's two things that happen. You lose your entire support system, and you go back to something that you don't quite fit into anymore. And it's not to say when you get out of the military, like, friends and family don't know you anymore, but you kind of put your life on pause for the 4 or 20 years or however long you're in. And then you go back to, a place where, everyone's just been moving forward with their lives. And so you have to reconnect. So you kind of lose this huge community that you've been a part of. And then you also lose a lot of security. You don't have, a paycheck anymore that you've been getting consistently. You don't have the same routines. The medical care is entirely different. And they don't really prepare you for that when you exit the military. So, there's varying statistics on how many veterans have, a PTSD diagnosis, but what 100% of veterans do go through is transition stress. And so I was going through this transition stress while also really having to face the feelings and the thoughts and experiences I had from going through war and going through combat. And those were two very difficult things to sift apart. And what made it so difficult is that things that used to be easy for me no longer were. And I felt like a silent struggle for so long, because I was trying to push forward and I was trying to move forward. And I think outwardly it looked like I was, but internally I felt like completely lost, completely vulnerable, completely alone, that I failed at this, I failed at this, I failed at this. And it was so tough to be there. And it brought me to such a low point where I was like, well, this isn't what life's supposed to be. Just getting up in the morning sucks. I feel like I'm just like losing all the time. Like, it's not worth it anymore. And I got to such a low point And nobody knew, so then I had a suicide attempt, and it like blew the lid off things, and everyone came to my, support, like you and mom and dad and friends and family and veteran groups. And, it shook me awake that there is this world of support out there. I just hadn't communicated where I was at. And so that support system is really where it all started. I clearly remember, the night I had a suicide attempt, and, without getting into all the details, my dad was sitting there, and, he looked me in the eyes and said, "Evan, you don't have to believe that things will get better. Just trust me that I believe they'll get better." And that was like pretty pivotal, because I didn't trust or believe that things would get better, even remotely. But I knew my dad, and I loved him,
Wow.
and I did trust him. And so I didn't have to see the long road. I didn't have to see how things could get better. You just asked me to put one foot forward. And so I did put that foot forward, and it, changed the trajectory of my life, and being able to get through those moments. And I think that's where we become critical lifelines for people going through those crises, is that we don't have the answers. We don't know how things are going to shake out. We don't have to know what someone is going through or how to truly help them and get through it. Only they can go through that journey, but we can keep them here for a little bit longer. And if we can just build that trust and say, hey, you don't have to know things will get better, but trust me that I think they will,
Yeah.
or I can help find resources.
Well, knowing you,
That's what we're all about.
yeah, knowing you don't have to go it alone, like you are here, we are here. And I think this program, it could help anybody. You don't need to have a member of your family who's in the military. Everybody's experiencing some sort of trauma in their life or having these crisis moments. And the incredible thing, I don't think we've touched on this, is Fight or Die is offering this class absolutely free, which is phenomenal. So I highly, highly recommend people go take advantage of this, because it's going to help somebody in your community. And it's so important. It's so important to have these tools, because like for me, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to show up, but just having the confidence that there's an action plan, and there are signs, and there are things to look for, and there are ways to show up. And even if you don't have those right now, just what you said was amazing, in the fact that like, hey, I'm just here for you, and I know it's going to get better for you, can make the biggest difference in the world. So I'm really glad you shared that.
Thank you.
Like, as you know, Hemplucid is very involved in the mental health space. You've heard us talk about a lot of things. We have our own mental health protocols here at work. But yeah, what is your thought on some of the alternative therapies that are starting to come out for vets? I don't know if you've been involved in them, but
just like healthcare, like there's no one size fits all approach, right? I mean, fitness for one person to the next is entirely different from nutrition and wellness. And I think that's what makes the journey so difficult, especially in the mental health space, because it's such a personalized experience, right? And so what we're seeing, and what I love to see, is that, the VA is doing studies and research on not research tested methods. They're broadening their horizons, because they realize that what one person needs is different from the next. And so I love that there are so many different things. I think what is difficult about it is that it's kind of trial and error, right? And that's what really set me back, at my lowest point, because I was like, I've been trying. Like, I've been trying to get therapy. I've tried a bunch of different therapists. I've tried a bunch of different medications. And there's no magic bullet, like when you're going through some pretty like a true, like kind of, mental health perpetual crisis in the way that I was, is that you run out of energy because it's trial and error. But I think that's why it's so important, because you have communities like Hemplucid. That's why you guys started it, because it came from your own personal use, and you realized how game changing it was for your own lives, that needed to be shared and that you could build a community around it. And then lo and behold, it's a business and it's doing really well. And I think for veterans, like, not just veterans, but people in general, like that's the message is like, hey, you're going to have to try more than one thing and you're going to have to find multiple pieces, right? Like after a suicide attempt, I was into therapy and it was pretty intensive. And that was just one piece of it though. Like I was maintaining at that point, right? And then I got invited to go to the Warrior Games not long after and got reconnected with the veteran community and started doing sports and had a great experience. I had a lot of success, on the track field and in the swimming pool. And that was like a booster, right? Then I was like, oh man, like now I feel good. Like I didn't just maintain or get through it. Now I'm succeeding. And that translated to like more success. So it's all about recognizing where you're at and what you need in those moments. But I think, here I am years later and I'm still going through it.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, this is affecting me a little more than I was ready for. Like I need to dial some stuff back. I need to slow it down. I need to really research those feelings. Like, what do I need in this moment? Who do I need to kind of help weather this storm?
I think it's really great that you have awareness for that you're able to identify that, oh, okay, like these feelings are coming up. I recognize that these feelings are a part of some traumatic experiences I've had in the past. So just in your text message to me, I'd asked for some resources as we start to do this Fight or Die campaign. And you told me, hey, like, I'd love to get them to you, but I just need some time. And that was huge. I mean, like for you to be able to communicate what you need, for you to be able to slow down, to take a look at, okay, what are these feelings? Because so often when feelings arise and when they're scary and hard feelings, we want to shove them down. We want to push them down and then they get trapped in our body. And they're likely to come up and hit us again in moments that were even weaker. So I'm really proud that you were able to sit with those things, to like really dial it in, to understand like, okay, who do I need around me? What do I need around me? And like use your tools and use the resources that you've gained throughout the years.
For sure. I mean, we're our greatest advocates. And that's what I think where we're seeing a broad conversation and support around mental health is so great because, the same day that you're texting me and I sent that back, nothing but love and understanding and support came from you. Well, I also texted my boss and said, hey, like, you see what's going on. This is kind of affecting me a little more than I quite frankly was ready for. And I'm not going to come in tomorrow to, I need to get my head right and just think back on things. And not only was he fully supportive, but then his boss even sent me an email when I got back in showing his support. And that's like really cool, and that's sometimes what it takes. And you can't pour from an empty cup. I mean, it's such a generic thing to say, but we find ourselves where we just need to hit pause, and that's okay. To slow it down for ourselves, because you're right, it will just continue to get worse. And that's so much of what I did early on. I was like, just push through, push through.
Well,
just push through.
That's what you're taught to do, especially as men, buck up, be strong, don't cry. And it's very damaging. It is very damaging.
Yeah. Yeah. No, you really see it in the veteran community.
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to talk about it. We don't need to do that. Like, I'm weak. I feel I'm such a little bitch. I feel like such a bitch. And these are like things that people I've had conversations with. I'm like, no, you're not, man. Like, no, you're not at all. It takes a lot of courage, a lot of things. Like, what you're feeling is valid. It's real, but don't let it weigh you down, because it will. It truly will. Like, you will sit there for years to a lifetime just being beaten down by those things. And so just have the courage to stop and hit pause yourself. And just like opportunities, you'll be shocked at how much support and love you'll get from people around you and from things that you just weren't expecting.
Yeah. Love that. All right. Well, there's been a lot of good information in this. I think we did talk about, this mission is very, very important to me. It's very important to our company. And just the world right now, to bring awareness to maybe a few resources that are out there for people, to know that they can reach out to you, they can reach out to me, they can reach out to their friends and family. And there's just a world of support for for these people that are going through a hard time. So I really, really appreciate you coming on and talking about it. It's critical. I mean, it really feels like a critical point to be blasting this information everywhere, you know?
Totally. No, I mean, mental health is, we are the stewards of our own communities. It's the coworker, it's the friend, it's the spouse. It's you are the person that's going to recognize when someone around you is going through a challenge or a crisis. And that's what mental health first aid is so cool. My 2-year-old can see that I have a little cut and say, "Oh, daddy, boo boo." And then here we are as adults and we see someone having a mental health cut and we're like, don't know what to do here,
Don't touch
And
that.
so that's why, yeah. And that's why it's called mental health first aid, because, you're not the paramedic, you're not the doctor, you're not going to, stabilize someone or do open heart surgery on the mental health aspect, but you are going to be likely the person to recognize someone going through something, and you need those tools. You need to have the band-aids and the tape and the gauze to just patch things up and then get them to better resources or get them to someone that can help them more. And that's what's so cool about mental health first aid, and it's internationally accredited and recognized as that program. If you wanted to go get it on your own, it costs anywhere from $75 to $150, but that's why we make that more accessible by offering it for free. It's not only about veterans, so it covers all aspects of mental health, from addiction to psychotic breaks and substance abuse and everything in between. So
great.
The tools are applicable anywhere and for anyone.
Absolutely. So a great way to sign up for that, again, I think we talked about this earlier, is visit Fight Oar Die, and it's spelled Fight OAR Die, like the oars on a rowboat.
Social media. Yeah, Fight or Die. So you can follow us on Facebook or Instagram, and we post about the sessions we're hosting, or you can also go to USVetrow, so USVETROW.org. And we have sign up links there as well.
That's really great. And we're also really excited. I talked to you about this yesterday. Hemplucid is actually going to put a donate now button on their website. So with any purchase, you can select anywhere from $1 to $10 in your order to go to Fight or Die. And then we will be matching those donations. We're really excited. You have a gala. I never know how to pronounce that word. Coming up.
Gala.
Yeah. So that's coming up October 8th. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so it's one of our big fundraisers for the year. It's really just a chance to get people together in a room, have some dinner. It's going to be here in Littleton, Colorado, October 8th. If you're in the area, you can go to our website and buy tickets if you would like. We're also just doing a little silent auction, and 100% of the proceeds go towards our mission of having veteran ambassadors take on extreme challenges and be a beacon of hope for other veterans, and also to supporting our mental health programs and getting more people trained in mental health first aid.
Well, that's awesome. You should be very proud of yourself for putting this stuff out there, for just talking about it. I mean, you have a very strong voice. You're a leader in your community. A lot of people look up to you. So it's really great that you are speaking about this, that you have taken control of your own journey, that you're rowing your own ocean, and you're helping others with the resources to row their oceans. It's very, very admirable.
Thank you.
So with that being said, what are some of your hopes for the future? What do you like? Are you doing anything exciting? Do you have anything big coming up? What's going on?
I mean, this really takes all my time right now. So, I'm I think that people need 3 real core things in their life. One, you need to do work that you necessarily don't want to do, but it contributes to something larger and pays the bills. So work in that sense. I think you need to have work that is fun to blow off steam, but you still have to put effort into. So like a hobby of some sport. And then I think you need to take your whatever skills and passions you have and put those towards the betterment of others. So volunteering or getting involved in service in some way. So, for me, I work full time and, support my family that way. Then I'm getting my pilot's license, which is kind of my hobby right now, and keeps, lets me blow off steam and do something that just gets me excited. And that's for me. And then I'm doing Fight or Die right now. So, those are the big things that I'm really focusing on right now. I don't have any big challenges. Maybe I'll row another ocean. I'm not sure. I've been so lucky and so blessed to have these like incredible opportunities for myself that I really find myself wanting to help others do those things for themselves. I don't want to keep being a taker. Sometimes I feel that way, but I really want to be a maker and help others make their dreams and challenges and lives become what they want. So that's very fulfilling for me right now.
That's really cool. Do you see Fight or Die expanding? Or, I mean, because you guys are involved in two separate things. And just for people that maybe don't understand, you can always jump onto their website, but Fight or Die is the row team, correct?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And also is providing the mental health first aid.
Yeah, exactly. So, Fight or Die came together kind of patchwork. They do what veterans are really good about doing is when the first team got together in 2017, they said, hey, we're going to go row an ocean and we're going to, do it to bring awareness to veterans. And they went and did it. And then we found ourselves like, oh my gosh, we have this boat, we have this nonprofit, like, let's keep it going. But, just like anything, you've got to be adaptable and change and move with, how the world's moving. And so we've continued to evaluate ourselves and look at, what do we need to do, which is why we started this mental health training program just this year. So we wanted to make sure that we weren't just raising awareness, we were affecting change. And we're continuing to change, so we're looking at this year's team and potentially making a shift and rowing the Pacific and looking at how we could potentially, make some impact on the Afghanistan situation and exploring ideas and options there.
Wow.
We just don't want to get stagnant ultimately. We want veterans to be able to come to us, and we have the support and resources to have that help them raise awareness and row an actual ocean. So come to us with your team and with your ideas of how you want to give back. Ultimately where we're at Fight or Die is that we want to establish veterans as leaders in their community and allow veterans to use their experiences and their resiliency to affect change and prioritize mental health and wellness in their own communities. So however that looks is ultimately like, let's change the definition of what it means to be a veteran.
Wow. That is amazing. Well, I don't know what to even say after that. Like, you guys are doing a lot of really amazing work, and I'm glad that you're putting resources together. I'm glad that you're continuing to build, because just like it with PTSD and with all of these issues that veterans are dealing with, it's ever changing and it's ever growing, and everybody has their own path. So it's cool that you're starting to collect the tools and the resources and bring them all together. And we hope that what we're doing here is a small help to that cause, and that we can share these resources. I mean, I was just absolutely stoked that the resources that you have are helping our business and helping me become better in my own community, and just gain the resources I need to show up better for people, to recognize signs that somebody might be in danger. I mean, it happens everywhere, and there are no veterans working here, so but it's important. It's what will help change the world. So I'm very proud of you. I'm just thrilled to know that you're doing this. I'm thrilled to be able to support it. We at Hemplucid are thrilled to be able to support this, and hope that this shed a little bit of light for people. It's a big conversation, and I think you did a really great job navigating, some of the pain points and why community is so important, why that support system is so important. Yeah.
Well, thank you. We really appreciate the support so much. And, I would have had a much different experience on the row if I didn't have a big bag of Hemplucid products. It was, when you row for 2 hours on, so on the row, I guess, you have 4 guys, 2 guys row, 2 guys rest. You row for 2 hours, you rest for 2 hours. 24 hours a day. And it took us 50 days, 11 hours and 35 minutes to complete the row.
Wow.
So the physical beating we took on the row is just, unmatched from anything I've ever done before. Yeah. And having like the Hemplucid products was a game changer, and especially all the different things, that come together. I mean, if you haven't tried the products just in general, you definitely should. It was crazy to me how I don't know. I don't want to get too into it, but I mean,
Yeah.
you can't just sit there and pound Tylenol for,
Right.
a month and a half straight. And what some of those Hemplucid products did to like help with muscle soreness and tension and inflammation was like game changer.
I'm so glad.
I mean, you go into a shift and you're like, I don't know how I can come back out in 2 hours. Take some, straight to the mouth, didn't dilute it in water, and came back out feeling fresh.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And me, just like, you guys need some products for the row? Here you go. Take these, I promise.
Everybody was kitted out. No, it made a big difference for everyone on the team, for sure.
Good. And for everybody listening, we do have a veteran discount right now. Just give us a call. Our customer support team is amazing. But we're also about to launch a big discount program that allows our veterans and military members to get a discount, because we're just so grateful for the service. We're grateful for the sacrifices that have been made, and are very, very heartbroken for all of the lives that have been lost due to suicide and mental health disorders. So just a big fan of everything you're doing, like I said, once again. So thank you. And thanks for jumping on and doing this podcast with us. And where can people find you if they want to reach out to you, or do you have resources for people?
Yeah. Well, if you want to get a hold of me personally, my email is Evan, EVAN, @usvetrow.org. So feel free to shoot me an email if you want to support Fight or Die, if you would like to arrange a private mental health first aid class for your company or your leadership, or whoever you want to do that with. You can find us at our website at usvetrow.org. You can also follow along on our social media platforms at Fight or Die. Once again, it's OAR, so Fight or Die. We're looking to continue building our community, and anyone and everyone is welcome that is ready to row their ocean and support others in rowing theirs.
All right. Let's row those oceans. Thanks, Evan.
All right. Love it. Yeah.